Hello everyone, I've got a neat example in regards to using ffmpeg and specifically the Cropdetect and the crop feature that's in the newer version of ffmpeg that you'll be using in 2012, 2013 and so on. It's the newer version, not the older version, the one that the newer version where they've changed some of the code structure and some of the command lines that you'll need to pull this off successfully. So what we've got before us is a video that we're going to crop. Now overall this video, its measurements are 1280 by 720, standard HD footage. It's just an example, like I said, from corner to corner, corner to corner, the dimensions are 1280 by 720. If we pull the media info on this, you'll see that it's 1280 by 720, a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. I've just got the player scaled down just so that it'll fit on the screen with what else I'm going to do here. So how would we crop this? Let me close this, and I've got one that's already cropped. Now it's cropped in the sense that there's no black areas showing, and sometimes when you've captured footage you have black areas at the top and the bottom, just like in this example. Maybe not this extreme, but for this example I wanted it to be extreme, where we see we've got the largest black area on the right, a little bit smaller on the bottom, even smaller on the left, and then smallest on the top. Now to tell ffmpeg to successfully crop this, we can run the Cropdetect tool, and I've got an example set up here, and it's going to run the Cropdetect tool on this piece of footage. So let's run that, and you see it spitting out numbers here, and we'll let it process through. You need to, in general, let it process a good portion of the video and get the numbers, because sometimes those black areas can vary in the footage. They may start out less obvious in the beginning, and they migrate into a more obvious and more exaggerated state towards the end. We'll scroll up, and Cropdetect has told us that it would suggest that we crop this at a width of 1152 and a height of 640, and our X should be placed at 30, our X coordinate, and our Y coordinate should be placed at 20. Okay, so what does that mean? What is our X and Y? Well, it all begins in a corner, and this is the corner where it all begins from. X is the distance from here, your outermost upper left portion, to the area you want to initialize your crop. And Y is the same position, except it measures from top to bottom. So our X and our Y are two things we need to give consideration to. We also need to give consideration to the dimensions that we want to crop, meaning our pixel aspect ratio. And ffmpeg has, let me run the Cropdetect again. It's suggesting that we crop 1152 by 640. So 1152 by 640, and what does that mean? When we crop this from here to here, we're going to give our video dimensions 1152, and then we're going to crop from here to here and give it a height of 640. This one's already been cropped. Whoops, I'm sorry. This one's already been cropped, and if we pull the media info on that, we'll see that its measurement is 1152 by 640. Now, that's not an ideal width. When it suggests that we crop that, let me run a Cropdetect again. It's saying that our X and Y should be 30 and 20. Let me show you something here. Your measurements when cropping or producing a video in ffmpeg ideally should be in increments, pixel widths of 16. They should be, your numbers should be divisible by 2, and that final sum should be an equal number. For example, I've got 640 divided by 2 equals 320. Now that's a good width. It's divisible by 2, and it ends up being an even number. We've got 30, which was our original number, 24 and 30. So if we take 30 divided by 2, we end up with 15. That's no good. That's not an even number. So what can we do to improve that? Well, rather than using the crop at 30, we can simply increase it to 32. So now we've got 32 divided by 2 equals 16. And so we've got an even number, and that will make a good crop. So I'm going to delete that crop, and here's our code in ffmpeg. We've got the video filter, crop 1152, that's the width, 640 is the height, our X is 32, our Y is 24. So let's go with what it originally suggested. It suggested 30. So we'll save this out. So we're going to crop it at 1152 by 640. Our X is going to be 30 and our Y is going to be 24. So we'll run this example. It's telling us that our data is not aligned. And what that means is we're sending it information where we're going to produce a crop that's of an odd number. It also affects your bit rate quality, as far as you're going to produce a larger file size when you're producing these odd increments. So here's our cropped, and you'll see that it cropped it just fine for us. However, we're going to have a little bit of a larger file size. Now we're rendering a 30-second clip of just a solid image, so the file size is going to be insignificant in this regard. So if we tell it to crop at 32 rather than the suggested 30, let's save that. We'll delete that cropped. Remember, here's the one we're cropping. We're going to go 32 pixels in. We're going to go 24 pixels down. Right? So here we go. Let's give this a shot. Now you'll notice this time around we didn't get that error message that it was producing. And it'll be finished just in any second now. Alright, so let's take a look at our cropped version. And you see now that from corner to corner, if we take our and pull the media info on that, we'll see that we're 1152 by 640 at a 16 by 9 aspect. We'll take this back even further. Let's go here where it suggested before, 30 and 20, and save that. Delete our cropped file and run our crop again. There we are. We're with our error message because we're sending it invalid information. Although 20 divided by 2 is 10, it's an even number. The 30 divided by 2 is not an even number. But we'll take a look at the results here. Okay, so here's our cropped, and you can see that it produced a file that's just fine, but it's not necessarily the best way to implement this. Now if we were to take and reduce these to 0 and 0, I'm going to remove the scale option here, put it down here, and save that out. Delete our cropped. See, that scale feature also has a great impact on the final result of your video. So let's give a crop again. And we're not scaling it. And we're not manipulating the X or the Y. So alright, let's take a look at our cropped. And you can see now that because we didn't manipulate that X or Y, we're scaling it, we're cropping it to those dimensions, the 1152 by 640, but we're not cropping it in the sense of giving it any X or Y coordinates. Now let's do it this way. Let's go back into and suggest the 30 and the 20. Save that. Remember, we're not giving it any scale. So we'll delete our cropped, and we'll run our crop again. There's our error again. 30 divided by 2 is 15. It's not an even number. You can change that number to maybe a 28 or a 32, something of that nature. Obviously a 28 is going to give you less of a crop. Okay, so let's look at our cropped. And you can see that we're pretty good here. We've cropped it in the way that we wanted, except we're not being as efficient as we can if we were to be cropping with the 32. So let's look at it this way. Let's remove that top crop, the Y, crop. We'll set that back at 0 and delete our crop file, and let's run the crop filter again. And this time we're going to crop in on our X, but we're going to eliminate the top on our Y. We won't be cropping the top. Alright, so here's our cropped. And you see how we moved in, but we ignored that Y coordinates. We had it set at 0, so it's not moving that crop down the 20 pixels that it should. So I hope that helps you guys. Just remember, let me open up this one more time. Remember to establish your filter for your video and run your Cropdetect first. That's the best way to handle that. That way you can get a rough ballpark figure where you need to be, and then you just need to adjust those numbers, the Y or the X and the Y, to be divisible by 2 and having a result being an even number. Also, you might want to add the scale filter, and that goes in immediately after whatever your current filter is, only separated by a comma. So I'll paste this in the description below this video, and I've got my ffmpeg installed under Windows on my C drive. ffmpeg, I'm running 64-bit version, so you may need to change this path to accommodate wherever you have ffmpeg installed. So I hope that helps you guys. If you like my video and find it useful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more in the future, please subscribe. Alright, talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.